Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and today's episode piggybacks a little off of what we went over yesterday in regards to autism myths and the MMR vaccine, which is basically sponsored a whole bunch of other autism myths. We're going to try to go real quick through this article because Stevie J. Raw is streaming in 5 minutes, and I'm trying not to be late, but I also want to get this done, so let's go through this quickly. All right, folks, this is from Science, AAAS. We will include the link in the description. 4 vaccine myths and where they come from. False. Vaccination can cause autism. In 1998, UK doctor Andrew Wakefield published a study in The Lancet suggesting that measles, mumps, and rubella MMR vaccine could trigger autism. In the years after, MMR vaccination rates among 2-year-olds in England dropped below 80%. But the claim began to unravel in 2004 after journalist Brian Deer reported undisclosed conflicts of interest. Wakefield had applied for a patent on his own measles vaccine and received money from a lawyer trying to sue companies making the MMR vaccine. Citing further concerns about ethics and misrepresentation, The Lancet retracted the paper in 2010. Shortly after, the United Kingdom's General Medical Council permanently pulled Wakefield's medical license. But the MMR autism falsehood made headlines again in 2016 with the release of Vaxxed, a movie Wakefield directed. Of course he did. That alleges a cover-up by the Centers for Disease and Control Prevention. Of course, he's not going to talk about that money he received, is he? The story features a bioengineer, Brian Hooker, who took issue with a 2004 CDC study that found no overall difference in vaccination rates between kids with and without autism. Hooker reanalyzed the data in 2014 and claimed the CDC hidden evidence that the vaccine could increase autism risk in black boys. In fact, CDC noted in the paper that rates of vaccination in the oldest age group were slightly higher in kids with autism. But CDC says that this effect was most likely a result of immunization requirements for preschool special education program attendance in children with autism. Such claims prompted a slew of studies finding no evidence that the MMR causes autism. For example, a 2014 meta-analysis in Vaccine examined studies involving a total of almost 1.3 million people. Sure as hell beats that original 12 people, doesn't it? That same year, a paper in the Journal of American Medical Association reported that no difference existed in autism rates between thousands of vaccinated and unvaccinated children. False. Mercury in vaccines acts as a neurotoxin. In 2005, the magazines Rolling Stone and Salon co-published a story by environmental lawyer Robert F. Kennedy Jr., nephew of the former President John F. Kennedy, alleged a government conspiracy to cover up evidence that thimerosal, a mercury-containing preservative once used in vaccines, can cause brain problems, including autism. Multiple corrections soon appeared, including one noting that Kennedy had incorrectly stated the mercury levels. In 2011, Salon retracted and removed the story, noting continued revelations of the flaws and even fraud tainting the science behind the connection. Kennedy has continued to use his name to promote the idea, and in recent months, vaccine skeptics have called for a new vaccine safety commission with Kennedy at its head. Yet, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta and the World Health Organization, no evidence exists that thimerosal from vaccines causes health problems in kids. In 2001, well before Kennedy's article or his related book, thimerosal was removed from all childhood vaccines in the United States, except for multi-dosed vials of flu vaccine. If it did cause autism, the prediction would be that once thimerosal was taken out of the vaccines, that then the numbers of cases of autism should have leveled off or gone down. But that did not happen, says Frank DiStefano, director of the CDC's Immunization Safety Office. A rumor that autism incidents dropped in Denmark after it removed thimerosal in 1992 is also not true. The rumor apparently arose from a misinterpretation of epidemiological data. False. Countering mercury from vaccines can make children better. And this is what I was trying to say during many streams. We'll read over it real quick. In the mid-2000s, riding the wave of concerns about Thimerosal, a mercury-containing preservative, Maryland doctor Mark Greer and his son David began to promote a theory that pathological interaction between mercury and testosterone explained many symptoms of autism. That claim after the Greers published a few studies suggesting a link between Thimerosal and autism, studies that the Institute of Medicine characterized as having serious methodological flaws. Despite that review, the Greers proceeded with their controversial work. They established an unimproved treatment that involved daily injections of leuprolide, Lupron, a drug used to treat prostate cancer and to chemically castrate sex offenders. In children, the drug is approved only to treat precocious puberty, a rare condition in which puberty begins before the age of 8 years. Side effects in kids can include bone and heart damage. Leuprolide also carries a risk of exacerbating seizure disorders, a condition commonly associated with autism. The Greers sometimes paired those injections with chemical chelation, a risky treatment for patients with heavy metal poisoning. To peddle their treatments to parents and insurance companies at a cost of upward $5,000 a month, the Greers improperly diagnosed children with precocious puberty without performing the necessary diagnostic tests. They also misled parents into believing that the regimen was approved to treat autism, according to a 2011 investigation by the Maryland Board of Physicians. The board revoked Mark Greer's state medical license, stating his practice far exceeds his qualifications and expertise, and other states followed suit. His son, who holds a Bachelor of Arts degree, was charged with practicing medicine without a license. False. Spreading out vaccines can be safer for kids. Some vaccine skeptics contend that the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention current vaccination schedule protects children for 14 diseases before age of 2, requires too many vaccines in too short a time, overloading children's immune systems early in life. That overload, the skeptics argue, leaves children prone to a host of disorders, including neurodevelopmental delays and diabetes. Experts roundly dismiss those claims. A child's immune system must cope with thousands of foreign antigens each day, whereas the 2014 recommended vaccine schedule exposes a child to only about 300 antigens by the age of 2, according to the CDC. One estimate by vaccine expert Paul Offit of the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania suggests 11 vaccines given to an infant at one time would temporarily use up only 0.1% of the child's immune system. And although the number of recommended vaccines has risen up over the years, advances in vaccine development meant that the number of antigens contained in those vaccines have decreased, yet rates of autism and diabetes have not. In a 2015 survey of 534 pediatricians and family doctors published in the journal Pediatrics, only 1% agreed that vaccines should be spread out, but almost all of them had sometimes given in to parents' requests to do so, and some doctors have published alternative vaccination schedules. But alternative schedules pose many problems, Offit says. The most obvious is that extending the schedule leaves children vulnerable to dangerous diseases for longer. Spacing out vaccinations also makes it likely that kids will not get all their shots. One proposed alternative schedule would require 19 doctor visits over 6 years, 12 of those by the age of 2. Requiring more visits increases the burden on parents and could expose the children to more illnesses from sick patients in waiting rooms, Offit says. So guys, that pretty much covers it. The reason why I brought it up, in spite of going over the MMR yesterday, is that the prevalent rumor that the concentration of heavy metals is greater in people with autism. And it really does stem down from this MMR vaccine myth that's been circulating for years. As you can see here, and from the numerous tests that have been done over the years, that has actually been proved to be a false argument. Now, as I said in my earlier video, and I don't want parents to mistake me, when you tell me that your kid got the shot and then something happened and they started to change, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not saying nothing happened. There is, in fact, those folks who are allergic to vaccines and do have allergic reactions. Sometimes it can cause seizures. However, if we are blaming the MMR in regards to causing autism, wouldn't the numbers be even higher than what they actually are now? Think about that. Really think about that. If we believe that the MMR, or high concentrations of heavy metals in the blood, is what's causing autism and ADHD and some of the other neurodevelopmental disorders that we have, then why isn't everyone autistic? Why doesn't everyone have ADHD? Because the fact of the matter is, yes, according to the way the websites and news like to over-sensationalize everything, there are a lot of people who have these diagnoses. But it's also a fact that by and large, there are far more people who do not have these diagnoses than those who do. These rise in numbers that we keep talking about, as I have said on stream after stream after stream, is not some sudden burst out of nowhere. Okay? Especially when we're talking mid-90s, early 2000s, when the numbers really started to blow up. That's when they were removing the very things from the vaccines that you all were saying were causing it. So, if they are at that point removing the thing that is causing the neurodevelopmental disabilities, why would these numbers suddenly skyrocket? Wouldn't it be more likely, if what you say is true, that the numbers would have gone down? Exactly. We have to think, folks. Two things happening close together does not necessarily always mean that one thing caused the other. Sometimes, especially in these cases, 2 and 2 does not equal 3. Okay? It may happen close together, but take a look at the data overall. Don't just look at the autism data, the ADHD data. Take a look at the picture as a whole, as you tell us autistics to do on a semi-regular basis. And do it objectively. Take your mind off your child. Take your mind off of your life, your difficulties. I get it. I do. I really do. Okay? I'm an autistic. I know how difficult it is. It's difficult every time I go out the door. I get it. But put that aside for a minute. Look at it as though you are someone who has never encountered this information before. And look at it as a whole. And what I'm saying to you will start to make a little bit more sense. All right, folks. I got to jump over onto Stevie J. Raw's stream. I'll see you all in the chat. I do appreciate your time this afternoon. Now, folks, we don't get many views on this channel. The few views that we do get do sometimes get removed by YouTube. So don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this afternoon. And as always, folks, we at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.